Unskilful behavior exacerbates suffering. From the Book of Perfect Happiness by พระอาจารย์ปายุตโต The Buddha described practical guidelines for how to relate to suffering and happiness. In one passage, he mentions 3 factors which, when expanded upon according to the scriptural explanations, result in 4 factors. Here, the Buddha summarizes the criteria for relating to suffering and happiness as follows. 1. To refrain from creating extra, unnecessary suffering for oneself. 2. To not forsake righteous forms of happiness. 3. To not indulge in any sort of happiness, even righteous happiness. 4. To strive in order to realize higher forms of happiness. This is a vital teaching. If we are able to accord with these principles, it can be said that we are practicing correctly in relation to suffering and happiness. 1. Refraining from unnecessary suffering. We lived in the world. Our lives proceed in line with the nature of conditioned phenomena. Conditioned things are impermanent, subject to stress and non-self, according to their own nature. We can strive to live a wholesome life. The dukkha inherent in nature is what it is. We have no conflict with this. We do not add to it. We do not exacerbate or pile on unnecessary suffering. By refraining in this way, we reach one level of ease and well-being. If we conduct ourselves unwisely, the dukkha of nature spills over as suffering in our hearts. We intensify and aggravate suffering. There are many people in the world who misguidedly go off in search of unnecessary suffering, heaping it up in their hearts. The scriptural passage referred to above occurs in the context of a debate the Buddha was having with members of the Nigantha order. In this sutta, we see a clear example of an extreme expression of intensifying or exacerbating suffering. The Nigantha doctrine espoused the undertaking of extreme ascetic practices. The Niganthas practiced many kinds of ascetic practices and self-mortification. For instance, instead of using a razor to shave their heads, Nigantha renunciants would pluck out each hair with the root until they were bald. In ancient times, there were myriad forms of ascetic practices. For example, in the hot season, ascetics would lie out in the baking sun, and in the cold season, they would immerse themselves in icy waters. When resting, instead of lying on a comfortable flat surface, they would lie on a bed of nails. These are all means of self-mortification, of intensifying physical suffering. Why did Niganthas practice in this way? They claim that the source of suffering was in following the whims of the body, which they said was the same as indulging mental defilements. In order to resist this self-indulgence, people must frustrate, torment, and chastise the body. Only by doing so do mental defilements wither away and come to an end. The Buddha used this behavior by the Nigantas as an example of adding and increasing unnecessary suffering